it. All right. Here this week is Under the Dome. A very somber, serious Under the Dome. Because I couldn't get through that one straight. Hey, if you can't laugh, if you can't laugh at that performance, you can't laugh at anything. I mean, we're gonna go gallows humor here on this episode of Under the Dome because there's no explanation of what we saw last night. Like Ralph Marlboro said, it was like the Saints were otter and we were Bluto. Not Bluto, Flounder. We were Flounder. No, Bluto was John Belushi. We were Flounder. We fucked up. We trusted them. Look what they did to us. So my advice to you is start drinking heavily.
It seems like everything on Under the Dome, somehow or another. And by the way, tonight's episode is going to be rated PG-13 to PG-17 based on our mood of Minneapolis last night. But two things that's been going through my mind all day. Necessary Roughness with Scott Bakula, where he goes to Texas State, and revives the program. There's this game on the computer last night. And overwhelmingly, at every commercial break, I kept seeing Rob Schneider's snippet there where he's sitting in the press booth and he covers the microphone and goes, "Shit!"
I thought you water boy. You can do it! All right, so let's go ahead and pay the bills and introduce our guest. We have a special guest with us tonight. So, Sean?
That's right. We got a first-time guest with us tonight.
Yes, we do.
To Mr. Alex, we're gonna thank First Productions for being our sponsor. We want to invite you guys to subscribe to us on iTunes. The numbers are going up all the time. Join us on Facebook. We're gonna start doing some immediate reaction and some stuff like that on Facebook Live on our Facebook page. That's Under the Dome Podcast. And if people think I want everyone to know that we are not just a Saints or a football group. We are primarily Saints oriented, but about football. As a part of that, we want to that everyone who is in a position where they can or feels led to, please, there's a lot of people in this area down here that are in a bad way right now, be that because of Hurricane Harvey, be that because of Hurricane Irma. The Gulf now is in a really bad way, and you can that by going to 1-800 Red Cross and making a contribution, donating your time, donating out of water, just anything that you can do to help. We strongly urge you guys to do that. Moving on, introduce our special guest tonight. We are welcoming into the Mercedes-Benz Terror Dome this Sunday. I mean, Mr. Belichick and Mr. Brady. The New England Patriots tonight on our program is going to be the lead Patriots writer for ProFootballSpot.com, and welcome him in. His name is Alex Stewart. How are you doing tonight, Alex?
Good. How's everybody doing? I'm surprised you didn't have the Imperial March queued up as my intro music since we're the evil empire.
If Alan would have thought of it, he would have done it. I promise.
Actually, I've got other music queued up for later on in the program, so don't worry. I got the DJ turntable spinning here. I'll be good.
All right. Thank you, DJ.
Heart,
Hey, I'm a big Star Wars geek. I'm a big fan of Star Wars. Love Darth Vader.
You were on the perfect show because That's what I am too. I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Except we can all forget about the prequels. We can throw those out. We can keep Darth Maul, but we can get rid of the rest of it.
We'll keep the lightsaber battles. That's about all you can keep out of that.
And Liam Neeson.
Yes.
But thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. We'll get back into football. Sorry for derailing that train.
No, that's what this show is all about. Tell me something, Alex.
Yeah. I want to start things off here. I want to ask you a question that everybody in the world been ever since last Thursday night when the season officially kicked off with the Chiefs visiting the Patriots. The Patriots raised the Super Bowl banner. And then what ensued was something that in the world, except me, who wanted to have chosen the Chiefs, but
it's all right.
In all seriousness, to not only for it to play out the way that it did, but also to end it. Everybody is wanting to know right now, discussing before we went on air, mood in around now, and more than that, is as in trouble as it looked in the third and fourth quarter of that game last week.
Well, I'll answer your first question. We're on to New Orleans. We're on to New Orleans. As for the mood, I don't think that we're in trouble. I think we're firm believers in trust the process. You don't win 5 Super Bowls by luck. There is a process. There is skill. Honestly, what I saw on Thursday was, in my personal opinion, largely due to the loss of Julian Edelman. I think he actually is the heart and soul of that Patriots offense, apart from Tom Brady, obviously, who's the trigger man. But, I mean, Rob Gronkowski is a special talent. Brandon Cooks is the speedster on the outside. But Edelman brings that heart, that soul, that safety blanket to the offense. And when you lose him, you could really, really see the struggles, especially on third down. Now, I'll admit, the first drive, right out the gate, we looked fantastic. We looked how we were supposed to look coming into this season on in the ball. We were mixing in some nice runs in there to keep the defense on their heels, and we looked like we should have rolled over the Chiefs 49-7. However, as the game moved on and you started to see them move away from their scripted plays and you started to see the Chiefs adjust to what the Patriots were doing, the lack of Edelman became really, really apparent. And in my opinion, I think that's a big reason of why we lost that game. And that can't be something that lingers going throughout the season. Now, Danny Amendola filled in spectacularly for about the first half, and then he ended up leaving in the third quarter. So really his development is something that's going to really, really be important to this team moving forward.
I think there was I was drawing a lot of comparisons today between what happened to the Saints last night and what happened to the Patriots on Thursday night. I think the turning point in that game was that touchdown was called back when they ruled that I think it was Gronkowski did not have full control over the ball when the ball hits the ground. And so instead of going up 14, I think it was 14-3 maybe, instead of going double digit, you end up having to settle for a field goal. And it seemed to give life to Kansas City. And as the game kind of unfolded, like you said, Edelman missing from the offense, and the Patriots' inability to really get that mojo back, get that drive going again, kept giving more and more confidence to Kansas City. And again, just like last night with Sam Bradford hitting Stephon Diggs and just blowing the game open, that pass that Alex Smith threw to a wide open was it number 10? I'm sorry.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Tyreek
I
Hill.
think it was Tyreek Hill. I thought it was Tyreek Hill.
I had him in fantasy.
Well,
I also
Tyreek
did.
Hill and Kareem Hunt both really were Patriot killers, but that pass, Tyreek Hill, once again, that seemed to break the game open for Kansas City because it was like, hey, guess what? We can pass vertically on this team. We can move the ball on this team. And the defense just never seemed to recover from that. The pass rush disappeared. The loss of the linebacker Dante Hightower, had
That's
an
what I
impact.
was about.
The defense just never recovered.
That's what I was about to say. Was
I guess what
to
Saints
heal.
fans want. What? I'm sorry. What were you gonna say, Sean?
That delay kills us every time, doesn't it? It looked like and the Tariq Hill long touchdown passes, but something else that kind of played into that whole scheme of things going on at that time was or getting hurt.
Yeah, well,
Those things seemed to happen at one time.
That touchdown to hit the touchdown you're talking about, the second one to Hunt, that was directed at Hightower's replacement. So yeah, that definitely had that play. So Alex, my question to you is, my question to you is, number one, is Amendola going to play this week? And number two, what about Hightower? What kind of news? I know Bill Belichick and Sean Payton both treat injury reports like they're state secrets, and they reveal nothing. But what's the feeling? Are these guys going to be able to play this Sunday?
Honestly, Amendola, I have a little bit more faith in seeing on the field. I believe it was a head injury. He apparently sustained it 2 or 3 drives before he actually came out. So it's not like it was something that was mission critical at the time. So I do expect that we'll probably see Amendola in the game, especially given that the Patriots are so thin at wide receiver right now. I mean, by the end of the game, we had 3 healthy guys. We had Chris Hogan, Brandon Cooks, and Philip Dorsett, and that was it. There was no one else. I mean, because we put Malcolm Mitchell on IR, Matthew Slater was injured, obviously Julian Edelman tore his ACL. So what once started out as possibly the deepest position on the roster, well, now we're down scraping the bottom of the barrel, and we better hope that Philip Dorsett learns that offense pretty darn quickly. As for Hightower, I read a report that it is just a minor sprain, so he should be okay. Again, I would expect to see him on the field for limited snaps. I don't think that they will be utilizing him as a 3-down backer. I would expect to see some rotation in there. But, you know, your guess is as good as mine. Nobody knows what Belichick is going to do. Nobody knows what defense Matt Patricia is going to dial up. I could be completely wrong. They could be out for 4 games because they just feel like keeping him out for 4 games. Good luck predicting it. It's like trying to guess which Patriots running back is going to do the best in fantasy each week. You just can't do it.
Right. Exactly.
Somewhere Bill Belichick is sitting in a room going,
yes.
With a black glove. I'm sorry.
And a mask, and you got to do the breathing too. But I mean, I think the perfect example is of Belichick just saying, you know, how can I screw with people's fantasy lineups? Is 2 or 3 years ago the Jonas Gray game where he comes in, rushes for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then guess what? We don't see him. Where is he? I think he works at Kmart now. I don't know.
We used to make fun of back in the day when I was playing fantasy football. We used to make fun of Mike Shanahan with Denver. He was good for that too. You know, I'm not going to play this running back. I'm going to play this guy this week.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
So Alex, let me ask you, what is your? I mean, obviously, our team, and we'll get further in depth into this conversation in a little while. But obviously, our team went out and suffered fate as you guys did on Thursday night, last night. So, what are your expectations for Sunday in the Superdome?
Well, first off, I'd like to extend a big thank you to Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, and Dalvin Cook. I appreciate their performance against you guys. That pulled me back and won me a couple fantasy games. So, you know, if somehow they tune into this, thank you guys. You guys saved me on that one. As for my expectations, I actually just wrote an article today for Pro Football Spot, kind of predicting how the Patriots' next couple games should go. And I do have them beating you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sure that's not what your listeners want to hear. But your defense just was not impressive to me. Your offense lacked the explosiveness that it's had in previous years, and a good part of that is the loss of Brandon Cooks. And, really now your two biggest threats seem to be Kobe Fleener, which could have a pretty good game if Donta Hightower's out, if there's nobody to check him across the middle, and Michael Thomas, but I believe we have the corners to keep him under control. As for our offense, hell hath no fury like Tom Brady scorned. So I'm expecting some big fireworks against you guys, and I hate to say it again because I'm on a Saints-based podcast, but man, oh man, I would not want to be you guys this weekend.
Every since Thursday night, I have heard this. Oh my God, can you imagine how pissed off that the Patriots are going to be? And, I'm sitting here listening to this stuff going, visual image of Tom Brady stomping down Rue Bourbon like he's fixing to come in and whip everybody's ass. Hey, everybody, get you a beer, sit back, relax, calm down. I don't mean to contradict you. Things about the game that made me think so much of an anomaly as it could be very telling. You on the spot, Alex. I hope you know me well enough to know that. Dominant forever. If there were options at his disposal, that game would have turned out much differently, or at least not as much of a blowout as it had. Am I thinking that he's going to limp into the Superdome and we're fixing to do the same thing to them that we did in 2009? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Get this narrative where to be shaken in their boots because New England got beat the other night, so they're just going to wipe us off the face of the earth. Well, if that's the only thing to go on, I can point you out about 500,000 coon asses right now that are quite pissed off.
Oh, I mean that's a fair perspective. I'll give you that, but I would just also like to point. Please understand,
I mean no disrespect by anything that I say.
No, not at all.
Ever since Thursday night, I've been left with this dilemma kind of in my head. Well, a new dilemma in my head, if you want to call it that. I don't know if we're looking at that point where the Brady winding down at a point where it was the down week. Like for example, New Orleans game in Minnesota last night is something that I've said to several people today. It was a bad night on Monday night. It was a poor performance in someone else's venue. They're going to have to come back. They're going to have to get their stuff together, and they're going to have to carry on. You got to have as all three of us know, if you're going to play in the NFL, you're going to have a short memory.
Right, and I'm not discrediting your point of at some point Tom Brady's reign is going to have to end. In fact, I've been on record with several of my friends as saying I do believe in the next 2 to 5 years that there will be a turning point game, just like there was with the Raiders in the Snow Bowl against the Patriots. That was the shifting point of the NFL powerhouses right there. I firmly believe that game is coming. I also believe that it will probably be against Oakland. I think it'll be a nice full circle for the NFL. I think Oakland is building. I think they have a great offense. I think they're very, very strong on defense. Now, that's not to say Tom Brady is done yet. I think he still has 2 to 3 years left in him of great football and maybe an additional 2 years of passable football. I don't think at any point we'll see him where it was like Peyton Manning from a couple years ago, where it was just pray your defense holds them to 10 points and, have a couple lame duck slant passes to Demaryius Thomas. I think Brady takes care of his body enough to where he's going to stay healthy, barring some sort of knee injury, which, dear Lord, please let him avoid the Madden curse, despite all his taunting. So I don't disagree with you in the fact that I do think the Brady era will come to a close. However, I don't think it's this particular year or even this particular week, as you may have been suggesting. If we look at the games and go back in history where Tom Brady has had some sort of anger, as you put it, or playing with hate in his heart, after Deflategate, what did he come out and do to the Cleveland Browns? He tossed 4 touchdown passes and 400 yards. The year after he blew out his knee, he missed the whole season. He was probably pretty pissed off about that, and he went out and broke the single season touchdown record. So he plays motivated, and when he plays motivated, I don't think it matters who's on the field.
Yeah. And it seems like this is a perfect storm for the Patriots too, because the Saints secondary has been the Achilles heel for a while, and once again it showed its ugly head last night. And you couple that with the inability to generate much of a pass rush, so you have this vision. And I've watched football for a long, long, long time, and the only other quarterback, yes, I'm really old. The only other quarterback I can remember who just stood there and picked his targets, also wore number 12, and he played for the Oakland Raiders. Kenny Stabler would do that. And Tom Brady does that. Tom Brady stands there. He does not, like Peyton Manning used to have the happiest happy feet. He'd be tapping the whole time because he's waiting for the play to open up. Tom Brady is like a statue. He just stands there and strikes. And that's not a good combination for this defense, especially given the way they played last night. If they turn around and surprise the hell out of me and play the way they look like they were going to play, where, they start sacking Brady, disrupting his timing, so he cannot get to those small receivers like a Dorsett or a Cooks, the Saints may have a chance because those cornerbacks are not going to be able to match up. Marshall and Lattimore may be able to match up with Gronk, may be able to match up with Cooks, but none of the other corners can. So they're going to need a pass rush, and they're going to have to blitz.
We have other corners?
Brady, no, we don't. And Brady loves the blitz. Brady eats up the blitz. The question now becomes, okay, if it's going to be a shootout, can the Saints offense match up with this New England defense and do to them what Kansas City was able to do? I'm not sure they can. Now, they have a couple other weapons that were not on display last night that struggled a bit, in fact. But it's going to have to be a shootout. With the last team that has the ball wins. That's the only way the Saints have a chance of winning this ball game, in my opinion.
Well, aren't you just a ray of sunshine?
I agree. I do think it's going to have to be a shootout for you guys to stand a chance. And like you said, Tom Brady eats up the blitz, and that actually plays into what we want to do. Mm-hmm. Something that really stood out to me on Thursday night's game was the fact that he took a lot of uncharacteristic shots down the field. I've never seen – the only year that would be comparable to would be the Randy Moss year. And, even then they were very calculated and precise and planned out, and they were set up. Well, now he has the burner in Cooks on the outside. It just seemed like he felt obligated that he had to try and push the ball down the field, and that's not how they are. And if you guys are going to try and generate pressure through the blitz – he can't continue to do that. We've got to hit those timing routes. You got to hit those outlets. You got to get it down to the running backs and exploit those type of matchups.
Yep.
So, that was just something very, very odd that stood out to me on that Thursday game, was just how desperate they seemed to want to get the ball downfield. And it wasn't in the closing minutes of the fourth where they needed quick scores. It was in the second quarter, the third quarter, when it was close. And you could have just run an efficient offense with running and setting things up. So, I mean, if you guys can try and pressure him into making uncharacteristic play calling like that, yeah, maybe you guys can get that high scoring shootout that you need.
Yeah, exactly. And
Breeze, you're always going to have the potential of getting into that type of game, and
well,
a blessing and a curse for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that was so uncharacteristic for the Saints last night, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, but the Saints were playing against their tendencies too. They were trying to play ball control. We're going to run the ball between the tackles and the A-gap over and over and over again. Very little of Breeze with, standing there taking the quick strikes. Very little, they only ran the screen pass a couple of times. It was a bizarre game, and the best way I can put it is they treated Minnesota almost like how they did Seattle when Seattle's defense was so good and so fast. They were playing not to lose, and they were playing a very conservative, close to the vest, don't want to turn the ball over, don't want to risk plays that could backfire on us and give that team momentum and feed that defense. We're going to wear that defense out with a physical game. And what ended up happening was we played right in Minnesota's kind of game, and Minnesota wore us out. So that's why I think when they come home Sunday, they're going to play a much more up-tempo, much more aggressive type of game. And I don't know if that's going to play into the Patriots' hands or not. I have a feeling it will when you blitz Brady, but I'm not sure how the Patriots defense is going to respond to that.
I mean, I think we have the defensive weapons to match up well. Like I said earlier, we do have the corners. We signed Stephon Gilmore in the offseason. We have Malcolm Butler, who we're lucky to have back. Hopefully Donta Hightower can be on the field and healthy. We have a lot of good guys across the board that I think match up really, really well. It's not like you guys have 3 or 4 big name guys that need to be, stopped every single game. It's really Michael Thomas and Kobe Fleener when he decides he wants to catch the ball. The big concern for me would be stopping the running game. The Patriots defense was pretty susceptible to the big run in the preseason. Now, granted, the starters were still finding their footing, still finding their rhythm. We saw a lot of the second and third stringers in there, but still with a running back committee of Alvin Kamara, Adrian Peterson, and Mark Ingram, if they utilize that correctly, it could really, really wear the defense down, especially if Donta Hightower isn't there to help prevent the run. He really is the key piece to that Patriots defense, and we saw what happened when he went out. The Patriots defense, like you said, that was one of the major turning points in the game, was that Hightower left, and now all of a sudden we look confused, we look lost, there were big plays, and it just, the train came off the tracks, and it went completely south for us from that point on. So to me, I think if you guys can figure out what the heck is going on with your backfield and designate a back that is number 1, number 2, and number 3, or whether it's situational football, this back is in for passing, this one's in for running, I think that could be the key to really breaking down our defense, especially if Hightower's limited.
I agree. I think there is going to be I think the motivation for Peterson was because he was playing against his old team, and he really wanted to stick it to him. He even said that in the paper. And there was almost like a pressure to make Peterson get that opportunity to really have that big play, and I think that kind of screwed up what we like to do. And the injury to the injury to Zach Strief also compounded that, because our best pass protector also happens to be Mark Ingram. So, you had that dynamic going on. So, but go ahead,
told
Sean.
Matt earlier today, it almost, sitting from where I'm sitting, watching the game unfold, watching the slow motion rewind on sidelines, it almost seemed like before the game, maybe in the locker room, that Sean Payton pulled Adrian Peterson aside and said, look, son, I know how important this game is to you. I know how badly you want to stick it to your old team, but the agenda is bigger versus the Minnesota Vikings. I'm not going to allow this to get to be a situation where it's AP versus Minnesota.
Well, and Sean Payton was on record before the game as saying someone of this three-back committee is going to leave this game pissed off. It just so happened to be Adrian Peterson because he wanted to stick it to his team.
Yeah, exactly. I think
exactly.
Knowing Sean Payton like I do, number one, like I do, being a diehard Oklahoma fan, it just seems to me like AP was really, really antsy to get in, to make a difference, to stick it to his whole team, however you want to look at that. And the look on Sean Payton's face when he turned around to address Adrian Peterson yelling at him was like, look, here for you can shut up or you can go. I went into this season off record as saying that I wouldn't be surprised at some point during the season, even if only briefly, Adrian Peterson was going to be the starting running back for the New Orleans Saints. Week 1 last night after that game, completely scrapped for the most part. I'm just wondering if Adrian Peterson is even going to be wearing a Saints uniform come the end of the season.
I'm not.
Although he is signed to a 2-year deal.
I'm not worried about that at all. I think what happened last night was
I'm not worried about it. I'm just thinking about it.
You had a very competitive person. The team is struggling. He feels like he should be out there helping the team. He can do something to make this team win, and it just didn't happen. And I think it's nothing more than that. Yes, it was because it was against Minnesota, but it was also because he really felt like he could be in there helping this team win. If you just run me, I'm gonna carry this team. I'll put the team on my back. I will get us single-handedly in this game. And he's not that back anymore. He isn't. And I think Sean knows that. But the competitive drive in him is, I want to be able to put this team on my back. I will carry it like I carried those lousy Minnesota teams, offenses at least, for most of my career. And Sean just looked at him like, it's not that. That's not what this team's about. And after the game is over with and you can reassess, you're going, it's not. I just want to win. That's all I want to do. I want to do what I can to help them win. And I'm sitting on the sideline. I feel like I can help this team win. It's just one of those things. Listen, I don't know if you have any more questions for Alex or not, but we're already starting to talk about the Minnesota game.
Well, I was just going to ask Alex. I was just going to ask him if you would stick around and kind of go over the Monday Night Rewind with us.
Yeah, I would love to sit here and talk with you guys. I just wanted to go back and touch on Peterson really quickly. He's mouthing off to a Super Bowl winning coach, something that he hasn't even come close to doing. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. Sean Payton has a ring. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to mouth off to a Super Bowl winning coach, your stat line better be better than 6 carries for 18 yards. He's averaging 3 yards a carry, and 10 of those yards came on his first carry of the game. So if you're going to talk smack, go out there and back it up. Sean Payton didn't see that, and that's why he didn't play. Mark Ingram was in the fourth quarter, catching screen passes, catching out of the backfield, doing all of that good stuff for him. Adrian Peterson was not. He just wanted to run his mouth. You got to back it up with production, and that's what he wasn't doing. I get that the emotions are high. I get that he wants to be in there. I get that he wants to help his team, but unfortunately, he wasn't being effective, and he did not give them the best chance to win the game, and ultimately, that's what it comes down to.
There you go. That's it to a T. That is exactly it. For all the people who were begging, who would talk about Peterson as being the guy. He's 32 years old, and he proved it out there last night that he did not. He was not as effective as he thought he would be, and it was frustrating him too. And it's if you're going to win, you're going to win. You're going to win with Ingram.
Adrian Peterson wanted to stick it to Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think that them 11 guys or 12 guys or 13 guys that were on the field for Minnesota last night, don't you think that they knew that that was going to be in his mind every time he walked on the field?
Sure, absolutely, especially when he got to inside the 5-yard line. That's when people were like, why isn't Peterson out there? Well, I'll tell you why Peterson isn't out there. Because as soon as they saw 28 come out on the field, all of a sudden, all 11 guys are keen on 28. And they're like, well, okay, let's use him as a decoy. Fine, we'll use him as a decoy. The problem is, because Streiff was injured, people are now going at Drew Brees on their way to Ingram. So that was the biggest problem.
Well, there's Alan, you are the X and O's guy for us on here. Maybe you can explain this to me in a way that I can understand. My frustration last night was, okay, in the second quarter, we lose Streiff. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we had one possession after we lost Streiff before halftime. And then the entire second half.
We lost Streiff We lost Streiff. We lost Streiff at second. It was second down inside the 5, and Streiff went down. He got caught up, rolled up in a pile, and went down. So then third down, we had Clemente in there. I forgot. I think they went an off-tackle play, and they settled for a field goal. They made it 6-3.
No.
Then the 5 was
was the pass.
Yes.
Thrown pass.
No. That wasn't that one. That was it was an off-tackle running play. I think they ran Kamara inside between Unger and Warford, and they ended up settling for a field goal. So it was 6-3. Then the following possession, Minnesota scored in 3 plays. So it was 10-3. So now we're back out. We go 3 and out.
My question is this: why was there never? I've been crying and raising Cain all day long about the play calling. I thought that in my head, and then when you told me that, I felt justified. So I took the staff and ran with it in the name of our show. My confusion is this: there was when Streiff came out, you got Kelemete in.
Mm-hmm.
An extra tight end brought in to help the protection. There's never Mark Ingram, Adrian Peterson to bolster that protection. And yet, you've still got Drew Brees taking 7-step drops. And by the time he gets to the back of that 7-step drop, that defensive end from Minnesota is standing there waiting on him saying, hey, Drew. And where was the play calling? Where was the damage control for Streiff coming out? I don't understand this.
Are you talking about once Clemente was in, or are you talking about when Streiff's in there? Because while Streiff was in there, the tight end was chipping, or the running back was helping block. I can't think of the Vikings pass rusher. That was on. No, the one on Ramchak, the big one. The one they paid all the money for.
Everson Ball.
Yes.
Everson.
Yes. Everson Charles. Is that his name? Everson Charles? Yeah.
Everson something.
Yeah. He's the one. No, I think that's right. I think it's Everson Charles because I kept saying Charles somebody or other.
Everson something.
Yeah. He was the one that everybody was trying to control. They were going to chip on him. They were going to help out that rookie left tackle. Now that Streiff is out, and you've got a guard playing a right tackle position because we cut Bryce Harris that morning. So we have room to put a linebacker in for special teams. We've got a guard playing right tackle. So now you've got to move your blocking scheme to help out the Clemente on the right side. So you either go to 2 tight ends, which limits your passing effect, or your running back stays in on the left side and your tight end is staying on the right side to pick up the blitz. And what the Saints would try and do is sneak in guys behind them. I saw in one play, for example, the linebackers for the Vikings would stay about 3.5 to 5 yards deep. Here comes the front 4. They are dominating our offensive linemen. So their front 4 is coming in clean, pushing the pocket back into Breeze. There is, I think it was Kamara, sitting there out there on the swing route, just like Reggie Bush used to sit out there. That linebacker is watching Kamara. He has no interest in anything else. So Breeze, because he's got pressure in his face, dumps it off to Kamara, and that linebacker is coming. As soon as he sees that ball leave Breeze's hand, he's coming, and it's a loss. And that's the kind of stuff that was happening a lot during the game. When he did have time to push it down the field, he got some big plays. We saw some receivers drop some balls. We saw, I think it was Tommy Lewis make a big catch. I think Ted Ginn Jr. had a big catch too. Of course, you saw the tight end Kobe Fleener have a couple of big catches, but those were few and far between because the Vikings were able to control the line of scrimmage with just 4 guys. And that was critical because if you can rush 4 guys and drop the other 7 off into coverage, you're going to win almost every time. And, that's what the Patriots like to do. Rush 4, drop 7. And when the receivers or the running backs get to that second level, they're waiting for them right there to drop them. That was the other thing that hurt us in this game. And the harbinger for me was on the first shallow cross on 3rd down that Stephon Diggs ran. He ran right across our second level. Nobody picked him up. He catches the ball clean on a 3rd and long and converts it. And they did that twice on that opening drive.
Devontae Harris was supposed to have him man on man and passed him off to P.J. Williams, who never realized that he had been passed off. I think that the error was on Harris.
It was a miscommunication. Either you're in man zone, or you're in man, or you're in zone. And the problem is one player, and this goes back to the Rob Ryan defense. One player thinks we're running man zone, the other player thinks we're running pure zone and isn't even paying attention to who's coming across. And if you have those kind of mistakes, you're going to get eaten alive every time. On the big touchdown play, here comes Devontae Harris, the first one, the big one, the one that broke the game open. Devontae Harris sees the tight end, or I think it was the back, actually. I think it was Delvin Cook, come across to run the shallow play. He jumps that route and just let Stephon Diggs take off. Well, there's no safety. There's nothing back there. That was the easiest throw. At my age, I could have made that throw.
Well, that's, it's a high school concept. I used to play quarterback, and we had a play exactly like that. It was called 36 down pass, where we had our tight end run a corner, and we had our back go into the flat. We read the corner off of that. If he dropped with the corner out, you check it down. If he comes down, you throw it deep. It's really they weren't doing anything overly difficult with that play call. I remember seeing that and saying, well, that's 36 down pass. It's exactly what it is. And it was a pretty simple read. And I think to your point, it just kind of comes down to the Patriot way. Just do your job. Listen to the play call and do your job. Don't try and do the guys next to your job for him. Don't try and do the guy in front of you, his job. Just do your specific task and everything will come together and you should succeed. And then just to go back to your point about the Vikings winning with only 4 people rushing, I mean, that just comes to play calling, right? That's where you dial up a screen. That's where you dial up a receiver bubble screen. That's where you dial up a draw. You have to find some way to sort of neutralize what they're doing. And, maybe that's why Peterson was upset, because there wasn't a diversification of play calling. But to me, that's on Sean Payton and Drew Brees to realize, okay, they're rushing 4. They're beating us with 4. How do we neutralize this? We do a draw. We do a screen. We do something to make them think.
That's
right. And I think that's what was driving fans crazy and why and it's now or never, I guess. Why this was the theme for the day. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, here we go.
We're gonna have to.
I had it queued up early. That's why I think this song was the theme of the day all day on social media and all last night. They wanted to fire everybody. Everyone, and Sean Payton should be on the hot seat because we gotta play a little funk here. Because that was straight out of the Carl Smith playbook last night. You were not doing anything creative, imaginative. It's 3rd and long. We're going to throw a 5-yard pass and come 2 yards short. We're going to run the ball right at the gut over and over and over. It doesn't matter how little success we're getting out of this play. We're still going to run this thing. You know, no creativity, nothing. And that was not.
My thing is this, and
this is offense.
This is yet another thing, another one of those things that I've been fielding all day and answering questions, and I realize that comes with the gig. You know, we are responsible for being reputable journalists. Did I say that with a straight face?
Yeah.
Anyway, I realize people look to us for information, and that's an awesome responsibility. But people have been asking me all day, why this? Why that? Well, you know, guys, when it comes right down to it, Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, and why is it that Jason Garrett comes to mind? I don't
know. I couldn't tell you.
Subliminally, didn't you? You got that whole Jedi mind stuff going. Anyway, these guys, getting back to the point, in all seriousness, get paid way, way, way more than we do to know these things. They see things. They are privy to things, and Alex and myself, that we're not aware of. All day long, and don't normally pay heed to subjugation and rumor and speculation, because I just don't like to perpetuate that stuff. For the sake of this conversation, I will. There's been a rumor going around all day. You know, people have been screaming, why didn't they pull Harris? Why didn't they put Sterling Moore in? Well, there was a rumor going around all day today that Sterling Moore, in the first drive of the game last night, there was a situation where the Saints only had 11 players on the field, and there was rumor that that 11th player that was supposed to be on the field was not on the field, was Sterling Moore, the guy in question. And Sean Payton was going to teach him a lesson for not being where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be. Basically, Saints Nation, Who Dat Nation, kind of got bent over the table and got it broke off in them to teach Sterling Moore a lesson. I'm not responsible for either that decision or its repercussions. I'm only a journalist that follows this team and covers this team. True. You know, that's arrogant. That is really, really an arrogant attitude to take, because your team better than average chance of winning this game. Arrogant in not only your decision making, but your play calling. And hey, for years now, I have taken a beating because I am loyal, quote unquote, to Sean Payton. No, I'm not loyal to Sean Payton. I just understand that he gets paid to make these decisions. I don't. It's not my business to second guess him. I'm only getting paid, basically. But anyway, and I forgot where I was going with this when I started. Now
I was wondering, you kind of lost me there. No, it's
time in that whole diatribe, and I swear I went squirrel.
Look, here's the thing, and this is what I've been saying to people, most of the day today, that want to fire Sean Payton. It's a lot like some of the media was reacting after Kansas City beat the Patriots back in 2014 or 2015. They had that drubbing. People wondering, okay, is this the end for Tom Brady? Is Bill Belichick's magic run out? And of course, the Patriots went on to win the Super Bowl that year. But there's a percentage of people who feel like this is finally the end. And they're anxiously awaiting, I guess, I don't know why, but they're anxiously awaiting the day where Drew Brees and Sean Payton are no longer part of the franchise. And what people don't realize is, you don't get these great coach quarterback combinations. They just don't happen. It's one of those things that only happens maybe once in a lifetime. My answer to that is, where are our four great linebackers? I mean, we had four back 30 years ago with the Dome Patrol. Where are they now? How many linebackers have we brought in that we've been able to duplicate that kind of success? We've been able to duplicate running back success, been able to duplicate receiver success, been able to duplicate defensive lineman success, even despite what you saw last night. But where are those four great linebackers again? It's one of those things that just happens, and you have to appreciate that. So when it's gone, you're going to spend the next 30 years of your life going, oh, man, if only we had Drew Brees and Sean Payton to go with this team now. Imagine what we could do. But I'm sure the Patriots, Alex, you might feel about the Patriots. There's going to be a day, like you said in the beginning, where Tom Brady's no longer part of the Patriots. There's going to be a day when Bill Belichick steps down. And those days, given the Patriots history, given the Saints history, you're more likely to go back to the days of Rod Rust and Raymond Berry and I don't want to even say this person's name, but Victor Kayem's ownership kind of stuff, where the Patriots were the laughing stocks of the league.
Well, first off, let me clear the lump in my throat from you saying that there would be a day without Tom and Bill.
Hey, brother, don't let it. Hey, we're in the same boat because the only quarterback that's older than ours in the league is yours.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, I feel like Drew Brees statistically is fantastic. He throws for 5,000 yards every year. However, Tom Brady has a different 5, and that would be 5 Super Bowl rings, something that Drew doesn't have. He has 1. So I feel like our hit might be a little bit more severe. I mean, Drew Brees, like I said, great. He's one of the most underrated quarterbacks. I mean, you really forget him in the elite conversation. I was talking with my dad the other day about what quarterbacks in the league right now are first ballot Hall of Fame or fame quarterbacks. And we named Roethlisberger, Brady, Rodgers. And I was sitting there and I was like, there's one more. I know there's one more. And I couldn't remember. And I love football. I should have been able to pull it like that. And I feel like it took me 15 minutes before I went Drew Brees. I mean, we were on to a different conversation about where to eat dinner or something. It was one of those, oh, it was Drew Brees. What are you talking about? Oh, that thing we were discussing 30 minutes ago. Drew Brees is just one of those quarterbacks you just kind of forget about, but he's great every single year. It's just a shame that he hasn't won. Well, it's not a shame because we're not winning more Super Bowls. But really, I think just going to the crux of this entire problem is that we're such a reactionary society. You lose one game, you have one poor game, you have one bad season, and heaven is falling. It's the worst. It's the end of the world. Sean Payton can't call plays anymore. Tom Brady might as well just chop his right arm off because he can't throw like he used to. Like, give me a break. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. And just to your point about the arrogance of keeping Sterling Shepard off of the field. I mean, no one player should be bigger than the team. And that's really what it comes down to. You know, it shouldn't matter if he's on the field or not. If it goes back to the philosophy of do your specific job, it doesn't matter if Sterling Shepard's on the field. It doesn't matter if you're on the field. It doesn't matter if I'm on the field. If we're on the field and we do our specific job, then it shouldn't matter. And I think a good example of that would be Coney Ely for the Patriots. We traded a second-round draft pick for him. Guess what? He didn't fit the scheme. Toodles, out the door. And that's just what it comes down to, because if you can't adhere to what we want and you can't do your job that fits how we want you to do it, there's someone that we can find that may not be as talented as you, but because they fit into the scheme, they're going to be the better fit.
And you know what?
Absolutely.
I'm glad you said that, because part of the reason why the Saints have not been as successful as the Patriots is because somewhere in the years 2010, 2011, 2012, we kind of deviated from that philosophy. From 2006 to 2009,
14.
well, in 2006 to 2009, that was the core philosophy of this franchise. It was, we are going to build a program to emulate the Patriots. Do your job. This is your task. You are to do this task. And we will find, if you can't do this task, we will find people who can. And they did that. They brought in a Jeremy Shockey. They brought in Jonathan Vilma. They brought in, Jabari Greer, Tracy Porter. You know, you're bringing in the players that fit what you're trying to do. Pierre Thomas, you know, those kind of guys. Okay. Well,
Marcus Colson.
Well, Marcus Colson is a great example too. But what I'm saying is, somewhere along that line, we kind of lost that vision and went in with the attitude, well, we need to bring in more talented players. Maybe it was beast mode tearing through that defense in 2010. Maybe it was
That's twice this week you brought up my birthday, man.
I know. Well, hey, the game that kills me, and this is going to get Alex here. The game that kills me, again, will always be that 49ers playoff game in 2011, because that was our best team. That team was our two-peat team. That team, I'm confident, if they would have been able to play the Patriots, would have beaten the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and instead of the Giants, because we destroyed the Giants that year. We destroyed them. And this goes back to your conversation with your dad, if Drew Brees beats Peyton Manning and Tom Brady within 2 years in a Super Bowl, suddenly now Brees is always in the conversation of, okay, who are the great quarterbacks in the league? Well, you know, this guy, Brady, Brees,
Absolutely.
and Manning. Every time, be those top three every time, because who didn't Brees beat? He beat Manning, he beat Brady, so he's got to be great. It didn't happen.
Right now, right now, if Drew Brees had 2 Super Bowl rings rather than 1, there any hesitation in mentioning him in the Brady?
Well, absolutely. And what I'm saying, what I was going to get to my point though on that was, somewhere along that line, we decided we wanted to get more talented players, or players that didn't necessarily fit the culture, but should be able to win for us, because the Patriots have been able to bring in guys like a Darrelle Revis, like a Brandon Browner, guys that you're coming in basically mercenaries, but you're able to make them fit into the locker room culture and do what they need to do. The Saints couldn't do that. And that's why I think you saw, the 2014, 2015, 2016, 7-9 kind of seasons, because you had a lot of bad elements in the team. They may have been talented, but they didn't fit the culture that you're trying to build. And as a result, that's your record. You're not in the playoffs. You're not being successful. And now we have to kind of rebuild and retool to get those kind of players in there again. But you have an aging quarterback during that time. So that is your clock that you're trying to beat, and you're not going to quite beat it, it looks like.
Right. Well, I just want to go back to your point about the 2011 Super Bowl. I would rather have lost that to you guys than Eli Manning. I can't stand the fact that guy, out of all the great quarterbacks we played, out of all the big names, that's the guy that beat us twice. Really? Eli Manning? That's who?
Did you watch him Sunday?
But yeah,
I sat there and watched him play Dallas Sunday night, and I was sitting there going, damn, this dude's won 2 Super Bowls. What the hell?
Well, to be fair, they were 2 of the more lucky plays: the Tyree catch, and then Wes Welker dropping a pass that I would feel comfortable. My dad, my mom, my uncle, anybody could make that catch, and he dropped it, which allowed Manning to go ahead and go get the score on the ensuing drive.
Mario Manningham on the sideline
yeah.
play too. I mean, that was just an unbelievable catch.
Which now I'm okay. I would have preferred that we got the perfect season and everything. But as a Patriots fan, I look back on that and the last 2 Super Bowls we won, and to me, the ledger is even. We had the Edelman catch in the last one to negate the Tyree catch, and then we had the interception on the goal line from Malcolm Butler that kind of negated the sideline catch. So we lost on 2 fluke plays, and we've won on 2 fluke plays. So now hopefully God has decided that, all is well in the world, all is right, and it can now just come back down to skill,
On behalf of Food Ad Nation, let me, and I can't believe that I'm actually saying this live on the air, Patriots Nation for not allowing Atlanta to fulfill their manifesto.
Yeah.
It was 25-point lead.
Yes, it was very enjoyable to watch the meltdown, because all season long I kept saying, Atlanta's going to blow this somehow. Atlanta will find a way to blow this season somehow. When they got to the Super Bowl, I'm like, it's going to happen. It's got to happen. There's no way this team, that franchise, is going to win the Super Bowl. And sure enough, they did it in the most spectacular method possible.
Absolutely.
Because you didn't just, it wasn't like, okay, the Patriots just dominated us from the outset. No, you were destroying the Patriots for 2.5 to 3 quarters. And then the wheels come off. it was amazing to watch.
By the way, Alan, the player to be mentioned later from Minnesota, Everson Griffin.
Griffin. Okay, Everson Griffin. Thank you. Is that my son that texted you that?
Bob Rose. By the way, to all our fan base, Bob Rose is not on tonight.
Yeah, no, he's not.
To try to work out a suitable schedule for Bob to be working on. It was Griffin.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
Alex, buddy,
I knew his number.
Thank you enough for being a part of our show tonight. Tell everyone how they can follow you and your work.
I just want to say thanks for having me. I know we don't play you guys all that often, just because of regular season matchups and everything. And
absolutely.
I mean, hopefully we get to see each other in the Super Bowl. That'd be fun. Maybe Drew Brees gets his 2nd ring, because I do agree with you guys that would put him at the next level of quarterback. I mean, when you look at it, he does put up great statistical numbers, but 1 ring always is going to have him. The naysayers, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. That doesn't make them great, To
me, to be totally honest with you, Alex, the biggest over the past, and people are going to grill me for this, and I understand that, but I want you to stop and think about the reality of what I'm about to say.
Okay.
For Drew Brees over the past 3 seasons is not 5K plus. It's not 30 touchdowns plus. The biggest statistic that's going, whether you want it to be or not, the biggest statistic that's going to be attached to Drew Brees' legacy over the past is 7-9, 7-9, and 7-9.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, he is starting to get up there in age, and so a lot of people might attribute that to his play, and I don't, it'll be an interesting conversation when it's all said and done. I do think Drew Brees is still playing at an elite level, and I think he is smart enough to know when to walk away and when he just can't do it anymore, when the fire and passion's not there. So I really hope he's a great guy. He's done great things for you guys down there. He's really helped rebuild the city. He's helped you guys establish a winning culture for the most part, not so much lately, but I mean, it was better than what you were before he got there. It could be the Archie Manning days. Absolutely. So it could be worse. But yeah, he's a great guy, and I really do hope he gets another ring, as long as it's not beating us. But yeah, I love Drew. I do. I love watching him play. He's fun, and for being 5'11" and to see him do what he does without being a mobile quarterback, yes, it's fun to watch.
5'11" press release, man.
I'm convinced that I don't know how old you are, Alex. Alex, I don't know how old you are, so you might not get this reference or not, but I'm convinced when Dr. Andrews operated on Drew's arm, he was actually Dr. Rudy Wells, and that was a bionic arm he put on this man because that arm came back. $5 million man, I got your reference, baby. Yeah, he came back. He came back better, faster, and stronger than he was when he was at San Diego. So that's been my theory, and that's why he's been going strong, turning 39 this year.
Yeah,
as long as Drew Brees is continuing to put up those numbers, he's always going to have a place in New Orleans, and I firmly believe that.
Absolutely.
Franchise has any interest, especially with Sean Payton / Mickey Loomis making those calls, making those decisions. I don't see that there's any interest whatsoever in moving on from that, as long as Drew Brees at that capacity and he's willing to be a part of this organization and wants to be a part of this organization. I don't see them moving on from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
Just before we get too far, the $6 million man, $6 million. I do get the reference. I was off. My fingers were off a little bit. So
there you go.
6.
My favorite TV show when I was a kid. So that gives you an idea how old I am. All right. Alex, once again, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
And once again, we can find you on Pro Football Spot. And how can we also find you on social media?
On Twitter. So if you want to follow the Patriots social media Pro Football Spot Twitter account, which is run by yours truly, is @spot_Patriots. Pretty simple. So Twitter @spot_Patriots for the Pro Football Spot official Patriots Twitter account. Lots of analytical snark from me. It's a blast, and we do live tweet all the games. We will be live tweeting this Sunday while we beat you guys down and prove that we are offensively superior.
I'm sorry, did we lose that connection? What is it? Did we lose that?
I'll say it closer to the mic. When we beat you offensively and defensively on Sunday, did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. And as for me, my personal account is @7theAlexStewart Stewart on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I don't really do much on Instagram, but Twitter and Facebook, feel free to give me a like and follow. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm a pretty easy dude to get a hold of.
Good deal. Well, thank you for being on the show, and wish you good luck the rest of the season, just not Sunday.
Thank you. Hey, I'm more than happy to come back on and not talk Patriots with you guys.
There you go.
So
absolutely,
anytime you want to have me, I'm more than happy to join you guys. It was an absolute blast getting to talk to you guys, and I think it'll be a good game on Sunday. I do think you guys are going to put up a good fight. Brady and Belichick don't lose back to back.
When is the last time they lost 2 in a row?
I want to say 2015. I could be wrong on that, but it was a while ago. They just don't lose back to back. And again, we talked about it in the beginning. Brady's going to come out angry, and I just don't think you guys have the defense to slow it down. But I do think you will put up points. I do think it'll be the most interesting and fun game to watch out of this week's slate. And I wish you guys the best of luck.
I just got
and Adam Big Hill.
I just got a tweet from my daughter. Looks like we get the #1 CBS crew that day too. We're gonna have Jim Nance and Tony Romo calling the game, so that should be interesting.
No, hey, I just got an update earlier that said Tony Romo has been injured reserve because he bruised his vocal cords on the first week.
He actually did a pretty good job. I saw a clip on NFL memes of him calling the plays out before the Titans ran it, and that was pretty impressive. It was good.
Well, he's had plenty of practice watching. Why wouldn't he be?
Exactly. So
I'm sorry.
Once again, Alex,
thank you so much
thank you for joining us. And we'll see you guys next time on Under the Dome. Hopefully, in a much happier circumstance. Hopefully we even this record at 1-1, not 0-2, yet again for the third straight year.
We're gonna have to start cutting the visitor's camera off before we do our.
I think so.
To be fair, I am in an ASU hat, not Patriots, so there is that.
I saw that.
I was trying to figure out whose hat that was. There you go.
It's either Arizona State or self-promotion with Alex Stewart. Take your pick.
There you go. One or the other. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you all again for joining us. Yeah.
We have an intellectual, man.
There you go. All right, guys. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.
Hi, Mom.